floor publicly with their vote, and even more privately, want the same thing we want. They want to know what happened. But when the former Speaker Pelosi couches this argument in racial terms, when you politicize it and demagogue it as a political issue, it puts a lot of pressure on Democrats not to break rank. So I appreciate those who put the pursuit of justice ahead of politics yesterday. And as you say, in Washington, when one goes the other way, it makes it bipartisan. So this was overwhelmingly bipartisan.
Well, what did you think of the Democrats walking out on that vote?
I don't know what purpose that serves. I try hard not to judge other people's motives. I happen to like Elijah Cummings, the ranking member on oversight, as a person. It just cheapens the body when you politicize things that should not be political. And the pursuit of a criminal justice matter, if anything in the world should not be political, it should be that. So I wish they'd stayed. I wish they'd voted, but they don't usually look to me for political advice. So.
You know, you mentioned this racial issue. How do you respond to that when it's Nancy Pelosi, the House Minority Leader, or other Democrats who suggest that it's Eric Holder and some of the voter rights laws that he's pursued in various states, that this is a mere reaction to that? What would you say?
Well, I've said a few things in the past that have gotten me brought into the principal's office. I said it was mind-numbingly stupid last week on Greta's show, and it remains mind-numbingly stupid. And I'll tell you what, Bill, all the Democrats other than Ms. Pelosi that I have heard ask that question have demurred and refused to go along with her conspiracy theory. What else can she say? The facts aren't on her side. The American people aren't on her side. So she wants to appeal to the basest instincts in people and accuse folks of racial animus. I don't mind if people say I'm dumb. I don't mind if people say I talk slow, but she has no idea what motivates me to pursue this. And the fact that we're in an election year, Bill, is because he wouldn't give us the documents last year, which, if memory serves, was an odd-numbered year. So the only reason we're in a presidential year is because he has obfuscated and delayed. And this started well before Eric Holder started suing states over voter ID. I'll tell you another thing that's instructive, Bill. I asked the Attorney General last time he was before Judiciary, is it possible to believe in good faith that you should have to show an ID to vote? And he said, absolutely. I don't judge your motives. I find it instructive that Eric Holder gives us more of a break with respect to our motives than Pelosi does.
Just one more quick thing. Have you had contact with Brian Terry's family since yesterday?
I have not. I feel certain Chairman Issa has, who, by the way, has done yeoman's work on this.
Okay.
The last time I spoke to Brian Terry's family was in a committee hearing. I'm sure Chairman Issa and the oversight staff have.
All right, Trey Gowdy, Republican from South Carolina. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bill.
Sir.
Yes.
With a crew of armed illegal immigrants. Two of the guns recovered from the crime scene were AK-47 rifles that had been lost during the botched Fast and Furious gun-walking operation, and Brian Terry was just 40 years old. Joining me now from San Diego, Brian's cousin, Bob Hare, and from Detroit, Brian's mother, Josephine Terry. Mrs. Terry, first to you, your reaction. Eric Holder obviously mentioned Brian, said he was, bravely trying to defend this country and our interests, but then went on to say, look, I did what I could. I shut this down. I saw that it was wrong, stopped this policy, and corrected what was obviously a botched situation. Your reaction?
Well, I think maybe he should have made that statement 18 months ago when Brian was killed. And I think what happened today was very, very good, and I was happy about it. And I think it's a step forward to getting justice for my son.
The contempt vote, the criminal contempt vote, 17 Democrats ended up voting with the Republicans. But we had a number walk out. Many Democrats left without casting a vote for criminal contempt or against criminal contempt. Bill O'Reilly said they walked out on your son's memory. What's your reaction to those who walked out without voting?
I was like totally shocked, but you know what? I think it was a disgrace to them and not to my son.
Let's go to Bob. Mr. Heyer, your cousin was, by all accounts, an amazing individual, as are so many of these Border Patrol agents who get very little credit and don't get paid a lot to put their money and lives on the line against well-funded and many times armed assailants who are better armed and better funded than they are. And now he's gone. And Eric Holder reacted today with, in my mind, a little bit of arrogance and defiance. Your reaction?
Well, you know, we've thought over the last 18 months quite a bit about this, and our only desire, Laura, is to get answers, the truth and justice for Brian. But we've thought quite a bit, you know, is this just arrogance or is it incompetence? And sometimes I'm not sure what it is, but we are very disappointed that it's been 18 months since Brian died and we still don't have the answers. There was a time that the only information that was being given to the family was through the news media, Cheryl Atkinson on television, your show on radio, and the House Government and Reform Committee, Oversight and Reform Committee. That was the only source of information. You also have to know that when Brian was killed, nobody, not one government official, had the courage to come to the Terry family and say, we've got some additional bad news. The weapons found at the murder scene were part of this bigger gun trafficking operation known as Fast and Furious. It was an indignity to Brian. It was an egregious decision not to come forward and share that critical information with the family to help us understand how Brian died. Brian and his team were out there that night in Arizona, 18 miles inside the U.S. border, defending this country, protecting U.S. citizens. They didn't even know that there was such a thing as Operation Fast and Furious, which was arming with state-of-the-art military-grade assault weapons the most dangerous criminals in North America.
Well, and I think a lot of people believe that operation was being done to really strike at the gun stores that were selling those weapons, and that was really the motive there, not so much to track the cartels, but really make a statement about gun purchasing in the United States. Mrs. Terry, what have you heard from the Justice Department, Eric Holder's office?
I haven't heard anything. I received a letter when a few days after the funeral, and that was it. And then we received an email from his office.
Whoa. You received an email from his office?
Yes, from his office after it was mentioned on TV that he never contacted us.
So no phone call, no personal visit?
No, ma'am.
Well, we've had a couple of letters sent from the Attorney General to the Terry family, and they've come in as email attachments.
Oh, lovely.
We've also had a few phone calls from his office.
Okay, all right. Well, we've corrected that issue, but my goodness. And the Brian Terry Foundation, obviously also a worthy cause. Josephine and Bob, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we want to mention that Brian's family, of course, has launched that Brian Terry Foundation. It's going to raise money for the family of other murdered Border Patrol agents and for youth who want to go into law enforcement.